name is Dennis King, and I'm currently in my second year of my first term on the school committee.
I'm Alan Thomas, and this is my third term, 2 years into my third term, so it's 8 years.
My name is Barbara Scarr, and I'm in my second term on the school committee, my 6th year.
My name is John Moses. I've been on the school committee for 2.5 years.
My name is Donna Newcomb, and this is my first year on the school committee.
This year I serve as the chair of the committee. So kind of one of my main responsibilities is to meet with the superintendent each week, and we set the agenda. So we talk about things that the committee would like to discuss at the meetings and things that the superintendent, the assistant superintendent would like to bring brought up. And we kind of hash things out, and we kind of plan long term too. If we can't fit in something in one meeting, we'll kind of schedule out where we want to fit it in future meetings. Sometimes some of the issues require some research and gathering information, so we'll kind of look at, okay, how long is it going to take, and maybe we'll be able to bring that up in March or February or whatever else. And then during the meetings, I kind of just run the meetings and kind of facilitate, and along with the superintendent, and introduce the speakers and introduce the different items that are on the agenda.
Dennis is busy, one thing or another can't function, and that I would chair the meeting or do whatever's necessary. And it's become sort of tradition, if not a formal role, to make motions and so forth, because when one person has that responsibility, the meetings go quicker because you don't have to look around who's going to make the motion.
My position on the school committee is secretary, as is traditional for the newest member of the school committee to assume the secretary position. I don't take the minutes for the meetings that we have twice a month. My responsibility is to take minutes during executive sessions.
In terms of liaison assignments, I am liaison to Center School, my second year at Center School, so I love going to the meetings. That's where my kids went to school, so I feel an attachment there, and it's a great organization. And also the Council of Schools, which is basically the PTO of the PTOs, and they have meetings quarterly, and everybody kind of goes over what they're doing in their schools and kind of collaborates with the activities that are going on. So that's a great event to go to. And then in terms of subcommittees, I'm the liaison to the selectmen. So when there are issues coming up to selectmen that concern the schools, I'll go to their meetings. And if not going to the meeting, I'm going to watch them on TV, even if it doesn't concern the schools. And also the Boosters Club. The Booster Club is at the high school. It's sort of a support group for the athletic program. So they're the ones that man the snack shacks and the concession stands inside, and they raise money, and all that money goes back to the kids at the end of the year in the form of trophies, awards, jackets, all those types of things. So, it's a parent volunteer group. They work really, really hard behind the scenes. So, they've been around for a long time. They've been around since I've been in school. So, they're a valuable asset for the schools.
My liaison assignments include working with the Chelmsford Friends of Music, the Chelmsford CPAC, which is the Special Education Parent Advisory Council. I'm also the liaison to the South Row PTO. I'm also a member of the Wellness Committee.
My liaison assignments currently are with the BIAM, the BSA, and Harrington. So as a liaison, it's kind of my role to go out and communicate with the parents what's going on within the community, and most specifically within the school board.
So I'm on the policy subcommittee. I've been on that for 6 years. We are constantly reviewing and rewriting the policy. And then I'm I'm also on the capital planning committee to the town of Chelmsford, and I am liaison to the McCarthy Middle School PTO and the Harrington PTO, and I think that's it.
Some of them don't show right now because this year all of the collective bargaining units in town are up for bargaining, except for the custodians. The liaison to the high school, I guess I'm unofficial liaison to the Rotary Club, seeing I'm president, and I'm on the board of directors for the Alumni Association, so a lot of times I can bring information back from what's going on with them. I'm assigned to the planning board And if, generally speaking with the town boards, they contact us if they think there's something that's really school related. We have official roles, but then depending on our own interests and where we spend time, I think people bring different things in that way too.
It was almost inevitable. I had started out kind of helping out at center school, and my kids were running the library volunteer program. And it was the first year center had reopened, so there were a lot of opportunities to volunteer, and we had a really robust system, and did that for a few years, and then they needed someone to run for president of the PTO, so I ran. And I think I was president of the PTO there for 2 or 3 years, and then president of PTO at McCarthy for a number of years, and then at the high school. So, kind of just like, what's next? And I did the council of schools for many years, and so it just seemed like that was the next jump, is to run for school committee. And, I kind of knew some of the members who were on the committee at the time, so like Evelyn and Mike Rigney, and it was a very comfortable, transition. And they made it excellent, and I think we did very good work.
I was inspired to run for school committee for a couple of specific reasons, and really one of the big ones for me was Chelmsford's position on full-day kindergarten. At the time, there were only 12 towns in the state of Massachusetts that did not have full-day kindergarten, which Chelmsford was one of, and I'm very proud to say that in the past few years we fixed that.
I grew up in Chelmsford. I went to school in Chelmsford. I graduated from Chelmsford High School in 1983. My kids grew up in Chelmsford and went to the schools here. I always wanted to give back, and now that I've kind of gotten to the point where my kids are out of school, I had the time available to do that. And what better thing than the school committee, since I've been a teacher for, I think I'm on 31 years now. So I have a pretty good background in education. I thought I could, lend my skills to the school committee.
I have a vested interest. My kids went to Chelmsford High School, and I worked there. I think it's really important to have somebody who has at least some previous connection with the school department. There are a lot of things when you come on the school committee that are new, even to those of us that have been around a long time.
The biggest one was as being an educator for 30 plus years. I've really devoted my life to education. My own children went through the Chelmsford Public School System, and I was involved in many activities and initiatives in the Chelmsford Public Schools. And I really felt like that I wanted to bring my experience as a classroom teacher and to continue some of the work that I had begun around things like education funding reform, continue to work on those issues. But also I really recognize how hard it is to be a classroom teacher today. There's so many issues that you have to juggle. And really teachers are on the front line, and I want to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to support teachers in the classroom, giving them the resources that they need, and helping kids to be as successful as they possibly can for whatever life brings them after high school, whether it be college, some type of vocational training, or employment. We oversee the budget, the evaluation of the superintendent, policies, and advocacy at the state level. We aren't involved in the day-to-day operations of the school system, nor should we be, okay? We're elected officials. The experts should be running the school system on a day-to-day basis. And because we are elected, you can expect that there's going to be 1 to 2 new members, possibly, every couple of years. If everybody decided that they were going to tell the superintendent what it was they thought he should do, then it would be chaotic, and we would never be able to move in a forward direction. We've hired the superintendent. We have to put our faith in him, that he is going to run the system in a way that exemplifies our mission and our beliefs and values. And if there's a problem with that, then we need to be able to address that. So I think that that's what people need to understand is that a lot of the day-to-day decisions about what is happening in the schools with regards to transportation, curriculum development, discipline, professional development for the teachers and things like that, is really something that we rely on the administration here to take care of, because they're the experts in this. We get a lot of information from a lot of different areas. I think it's our responsibility to take that information, to make sure that it's directed to the places that it needs to be directed to in order to resolve those issues. I think one of our major responsibilities is the budget and making sure that we are putting together a budget that's responsible, that keeps growing the education system, moving it forward, because it's just always changing these days. I mean, it's very dynamic in terms of what is happening in education. Being mindful of that we are not an island in town. We are part of the fabric of the community, and we really do have a significant portion of the overall budget, and I think we have to be mindful of that and really responsible to the taxpayers to show them that we take our jobs very seriously. While we want to be, as I said, moving the school system forward, we don't want to do it at the expense of everybody in town, in terms of taxes and things like that. So. I think that we have a big responsibility. I feel the weight of that responsibility, as we try to juggle issues around facilities and maintaining those, and curriculum, and social emotional learning, and all of the things that we need to do, as I said, to have this be a really well-rounded, really progressive type of school system.
First is fidelity to the children. I think children's education is the most important outcome that comes out of a local school committee. I think having integrity to the process and understanding the role in a school committee is really important. And I also believe that outreach and communicating effectively with the community is very important.
Well, policy is a big one. I mean, policy they're the laws of the school system. We have policies in place, and it is the superintendent's job to enforce the policies we've put in place. We are not the bosses of the teachers. We are not the bosses of the administrators. We are the bosses as a group of the superintendent. We have a say in, he can recommend who he would like for assistant superintendent or business manager, and we can vote that up or down. But day to day, we have no say in any of those positions. Hopefully, you are challenging our system to be a better system. I know that we work within the constraints of our tax base, and we will always be around a 60, number 60 in the state, because our taxes are around there. We're not Wellesley, we're not, Newton, but we give a great bang for your buck for your taxes.
Yeah, in terms of responsibility, as a school committee, our three main roles are to set policy, and the policy kind of directs, what goes on in the district, to supervise the superintendent, to evaluate the superintendent, and to work with the superintendent on the budget. And so those are big three. And then beyond that is just be a face in the community that people can recognize, and if they have concerns and they want to talk about the schools, they can come to us.
The biggest challenge facing schools in Massachusetts and across the country are really about funding. At the state level in Massachusetts, the Chapter 70 funding mechanism is broken and needs to be fixed, and hasn't been revised since the 1970s. And getting money for all the programs that we'd like is really the biggest challenge.
Well, I don't know what the impact's going to be with a double tax rate now. But everything leading up to this last year has been that we're in good shape because of a variety of things, including school choice money and other things. So we're in very good shape, I would say, right now financially. But the projection over 5 years was not just for the school department, but for the town to face more financial problems. That's always there one way or the other. I mean, all we would need is for there to be a major problem in one of the facilities. So money's always a concern. I think we're in good shape in a lot of senses with long-term planning because, well, you just heard that we were rejected for the second time for our building project. And I'm sure some people, are wondering, is our proposal not good enough? But the problem is that I think there were 70 proposals. And some of the school districts out in the western part of the state and some of the urban districts in the eastern part of the state, the buildings are in really tough shape. And of course, we brought in the portable classrooms, which that gives us flexibility over the next several years while we wait in line. I think the average for building projects to be approved is about 5 years. Another major problem, which we've been addressing the last couple of years, is change in the nature of the younger students in our district. It's become a major concern because statistically large numbers of them are troubled one way or the other. As most people know, we've created a couple of classrooms for students really with major challenges. We've brought in part-time and hopefully next year full-time assistant principals at the elementary levels. We've addressed guidance in one way or another. Probably the biggest challenge, if you back off and kind of look at things, is we're good.
In all honesty, I think that we seem to be relying on this hopefulness that we're going to get a new high school. I don't see that happening anytime soon. I think we have to be more creative in addressing some of the space issues that we have. What do they call it? The portables was a great solution, and it came in under budget. I don't see how Chelmsford High is going to get funding when there are schools out there that are in such worse condition. We take good care of our stuff. We can't be a better school system if we do not have the best in place. So that's the challenge.
I think one of the toughest issues is our facilities. I mean, our youngest building is going to be 50 years old pretty soon. That's the high school. Our other buildings, maintenance and the town has done a great job keeping them up, but they are old and they do need constant work on them. And then on top of that, today's teaching is different than yesteryear's teaching. So try to kind of almost retrofit your classrooms to keep up with today's technology. Updating the Wi-Fi and introducing more technology in the classroom and the new interactive screens they have, like in the modules in the elementary school, those type of things, and try to fit that into older buildings. So I think that's a challenge, but I think we're doing a good job at it right now. As a teacher, you go into every class with, objectives. This is my objective and this is what I want people to get out of it. And I think that's kind of the way I go into school committee, is what are we trying to accomplish here? How are we going to get to that point? And put it on paper. And, we have, lists of different items that over the course of the year we want to get to. And nothing better than checking something off the list. Say, okay, we got that done, now we can move on to this. So, I think that teacher mentality of, setting your objectives and teaching to the objectives and working as a school committee to the objectives. So.
Really, it's just self-education, talking to other experts, talking to the superintendent, talking to other school committee members from different districts has been really important for me. And just a lot of self-study, figuring out what problems are out there or what things you'd like to implement or see in the school committee. It's really just educating yourself and getting a lot of good opinions. There's just a lot to the school committee I don't think I expected or anybody that comes on expected. There's procedural parts of it. There are committees that you have to know about. You have to understand budgets. And I think most importantly, understanding really the feel of the community and understanding that I think what I've really learned is that even if your opinion is not popular, it may be the right one because sometimes popular doesn't mean right. And that's been really tough. That's been a tough learn and a lesson well learned by me.
I think that the learning curve may have been a little bit shorter for me because education has a language all to itself. And so I think that, we joke about in the meetings sometimes about the acronyms that, we throw around. And so I didn't necessarily have to learn those because I think I was already familiar with them. I think I understood, kind of the structure of a school system and, what the goals are that people are trying to accomplish in education today. So I think that all of that helped. But really, most importantly, I think it was probably my experience as a parent and as a teacher that helped or helps inform me, because I understand what it's like in the classroom on a day-to-day basis, but I also understand what it's like as a parent as you're trying to move your kids through the system and help them to be successful and to enjoy learning and coming to school every single day, and some of the struggles that parents face around homework or juggling so many different aspects of what kids are involved in the schools. So I have an appreciation for that as well. So I really think that both as an educator and as a parent, I think it's kind of given me a pretty good idea of what it is that's necessary to be a member of the school committee. So I think there's a couple different ways. I mean, certainly tuning into the school committee meetings is one way. One of the things that we like to do is try and get out as part of our liaison assignments to these, to the groups of parents, and then we give updates on what's happening in the school committee. So I think that also helps quite a bit. We're holding public forums. We're going to be holding our second one in a couple of weeks. So getting to these forums and hearing about some of the issues that are happening in the school system. We're at the Council of Schools meetings and giving updates. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for people to get information. And then anybody can contact us directly and say, can we sit down and have a cup of coffee? I'd love to hear what's happening with the school committee, and we would be happy to do that. Really through email is probably the best way. I mean, they're certainly welcome to call us, but I think that we check our email daily, if not multiple times a day. And so that is probably the best way to be able to most consistently reach us.
Things that we're doing better on the school committee, I believe, are we're having more open public sessions to comment on things. We're constantly trying to have tweaks to how many emails go out, because that's one of the big complaints I see from parents is there's almost too much information. So how do we whittle that down and everybody's using the CPS system? And I think generally speaking, being out in the public and available is always a good policy. I'd recommend parents reach out both directly at school committee meetings, and I also believe that they should email often, right? And I think that all of our phone numbers are published, and at any point if there's a concern, we don't administer the buildings, but we do take that feedback that we get back to the superintendent for action, and that's how I think parents should communicate, early and often.
I can't help you get hired. I can't help you move your kid out of a class. I can tell you how to go about it.
I think sometimes parents think that if they have an issue that they should go to the school committee first, where in reality, if they have an issue, say at the building level, their best bet is to go to the building level and try to address it there. And then, if the teacher can't handle the problem or the parent isn't satisfied, then they go to the principal, and then the principal can go on. Otherwise, if people come to us first, then the trickle down doesn't work as well as the trickle up. So I think that people need to understand the kind of the chain of command, and obviously we want to listen and we'll want to support, but to really get to the root of their issues, they should really start at the level that the problem occurs at. As far as the district is concerned, I mean, getting full day K running, has been a big thing. Along with that, the modulars, classrooms, getting the budget back on a good footing. I mean, I know a few years ago we weren't in a very good fiscal position. In the last few budgets, we've been on budget. We've been able to build reserve accounts back up to levels where now we're able to perhaps look at other programming that we wouldn't otherwise be able to afford. As for me personally, I'm an organization guy, so I'm proud of the fact that we're coming on and try to set some goals and kind of align goals with that of the superintendent, that of the district. Recently putting together a handbook for the school committee. I'm kind of proud of where we are right now as a committee, I think.
being in the black in the budget, providing really great education programs, 22 new classrooms across 4 elementary schools, full-day kindergarten, and a slew of other achievements, filling positions, administrative positions, filling teacher positions, and just really watching how well as a district we do compared to comparable districts has been it's been one of the most rewarding things I've ever done.
Our theater guild, our choruses, it's just amazing. The Thursdays, you know, I know we have good sports teams, but we get a lot of talk because of our fine arts, which is terrific, because that, again, reflects back to your math programs and your English programs, so it says a lot. I think the work on the policies, you know, working with Evelyn Thoren on the policies has been pretty rewarding. It's a lot of work. It's important because everything in the system is guided by those policies. So not only do you have to make sure that they're worded correctly and that the laws are there to back them, you have to make sure they're enforced. So it's just never ending. I think probably the policy part is what I'm most proud of. All in all, I'm pretty satisfied with the work that I've been able to do. You know, I don't think that anyone makes a footprint that lasts forever, and I don't think you should.
My favorite line is, there are schools that are better than we are in 1 or 2 areas, but across the board we're pretty good. And we are. We have great music and theater programs, and our kids academically achieve well. And it's not easy. I think it's easy to assume you just stay there. Well, you don't just stay there. You work hard to stay there.
So some of the things that we've done, I'm pleased with. I think, you know, getting the policies taken care of. I mean, that's huge. You know, having an employee handbook, having a school committee handbook, taking a look at, you know, conducting these public forums so that way we're out there and we're able to, you know, be accessible. I really think one of the most important things that we have to do is to make it not be about the school committee. We should just be doing our jobs. The people who deserve the attention are the teachers and the parents and the kids who do great work every single day. That's where the focus should be. There are so many great things that happen in the Chelmsford Public Schools every single day. There's just not even enough time to talk about all of them. And so I would really like to be able to spend as much time as we possibly can acknowledging all of the hard work by the teachers and parents and the success of the students. It's been an absolute honor to be on the school committee. I'm so happy that I made the decision to do it. Every time I go to a PTO meeting or one of my other liaison responsibilities and I talk to the parents, or I'm in the schools and I'm getting a chance to see the kids, I feel re-energized and more committed to making sure that Chelmsford Public Schools are as good as we can possibly make them. And I think they're pretty great already.